In my last video, I was talking about sort of my job chronology, the amount of jobs I've had, the kind of jobs I've had, because if you watch the last video, I was not entirely happy about having to go back and work again, which I am doing right now. Not at this moment. This moment I'm doing a video, but not. I am, working for someone else, which I'm not happy about, but them's the breaks. Anyway, during that video, I mentioned that something funny and weird had happened when I moved from New Orleans to Austin, Texas in the late 80s. And it is funny, and it is kind of weird. And so I think I'm going to tell you about it right now. So I decided to leave New Orleans because I love New Orleans. I consider it more or less my home, I guess, out of all the places I've lived. And so that's saying a lot. But I got into some pretty self-destructive patterns there. And I knew I needed to get out of there, to, get another zip code. So that's what I decided to do, get a new postal code. And I decided to get one in Austin, Texas. I had visited Austin several times. I had a friend of mine who lived there, who no longer lives there. In fact, he's no longer living, actually. And it was a funny place then. It was cheap. It was sleepy. The government was by far the biggest employer. It's the state capital of Texas. And it had a great music scene. And a lot of my life is about music. And I decided to relocate there. It was very much different than what it is now. I mean, I've been in Austin I guess the last time I was there was about 5 years ago, and it's it's just night and day. It's completely different and extraordinarily expensive because of all the tech companies that are there now. So I decided to leave New Orleans, and I pack up the car with a valise and I think 2 or 3 cardboard boxes, which were mostly filled with cassettes. No vinyl, because I had over 5,200, that's right, 5,200 records that had been stolen out of a storage unit in New Orleans a couple of years before. Not just my stuff. It was one of those storage units where, they have the long rows with the big doors, kind of like a row of garages. And someone just pulled up a tractor trailer one night. You got to remember, this is the 80s. There's no cameras, nothing. They pulled up a tractor trailer one night and broke open every single door on both sides of the long row, including mine, and took everything out and threw it into the semi. Left stuff all over the ground too, stuff they didn't take. So I had all these great records, I had 45s and 78s and LPs and 7-inch records and lots of stuff that was out of print, and it was all gone in an instant. And I'm sure it was being sold, over the next couple of weeks at flea markets for 50 cents or a quarter. This is the 80s, probably a quarter. So anyway, I have some boxes filled with mostly cassettes, have some clothes and a garment bag, have a valise or two, So I got asked. Someone sent me an email saying, "What are you saying when you say valise? It's I mean suitcase. It's French word for suitcase. They still say it. No, well, at least they did. I don't know about now. So I pack it up, and I pack my dog up to night train, and he's going to be the focus of this story. And night train, he was about 110 pounds, and so he got the whole back seat. I had a BMW 5 Series. He got the whole back seat, which he loved. He loved to drive in the car. He was excited the first, 10 minutes, and then he would just conk out, He loved going for car rides. So we leave New Orleans, and we get on the I-10 going west. So the I-10 starts in Jacksonville, Florida, and it goes coast to coast. It goes from Jacksonville through the southern part of the United States and ends up on the beach in Los Angeles. And it goes through Texas. I mean, a lot of Texas. And so we get on the road going towards Houston. And when I was younger, I drove quickly. As the South Africans say, I did not linger on the highway, ever. I drove like a grandma when I was on a secondary street in a neighborhood, or I was always deathly afraid of running over a cat or a dog, or even worse, a kid, I drove so slowly on those kind of road services, but on the highway, I would let it unwind, and I always had pretty fast cars. That was just kind of a thing, and the 5 Series was no exception in that regard. So so I'm on the I-10. And I'm balling that jack, man. I'm hitting it, right? And at some point, I need some gasoline. I need petrol. So I'm right outside of Beaumont, Texas, which is on the I-10. So I'm outside of Beaumont, Texas, and I pull off the highway, and there's a huge gas station. It's got like 12 pumps, and it's got one of those setups where the flat, one-story glass building, glass windows all around it. It's set up in the middle of the pumps, and so you can pump your own gas with a card, or not a lot of people had cards back then in the 80s. Or go in and pay and pump, or I don't think they had a way to pay after you pump, because too many people would be tempted to pull a Houdini, right? So anyway, I pull up to the pump, look at the number, and I zip down all the windows. It's not hot out, but it gets hot in a car, and so I didn't want my dog, my beloved dog, to suffer. So I zip down the windows, and I get out, and I walk towards the gas station, the office part, the retail part. And I'm standing in line. I'm waiting to tell them what pump I'm on, to give them the money. And there's probably, 5, 6 people ahead of me and a couple cashiers. And all of a sudden, I hear yelling, well, screaming, really. Not yelling, screaming. And I see, not just me, everyone's looking. I see this guy go past, the big glass window, and he's booking it, man. And he's the one screaming. He's screaming like a girl. And then next, I'm horrified to see my dog, my extremely well-trained dog, coming right after him. And I just freak out. I'm just like, oh my God, my dog has snapped and attacked someone. And so I run outside, right? I run outside, and while I'm getting out the door, this guy has climbed on top of a car, and he's up on the roof of the car. And it's like a big old Chrysler Newport. Huge, big boat, right, from the early 70s. Massive. And he's up on the roof, and he's screaming, and he's screaming, almost crying, screaming, and he's saying, get that dog away from me, get that crazy dog away from me. And my dog is launching himself like this. He's trying to get up on the roof. He tries to get up on the hood a couple times, but he bounces off. And he's really angry. He's very, very angry. He's growling and snarling, and meanwhile, the elderly woman that's in the Chrysler Newport, she is inside the car and she is screaming. I mean, a lot, not so loud because she's in with the windows rolled up. She's screaming, but you can hear her screaming, and my dog like circles the car, and I finally get up there, and there's all these little kids that were just hanging out at the gas station. I guess it was like the only place to be in that little town, right? And they're excited. Something exciting is going on, and they quickly surmise that I own, the crazy dog, right? So they quickly surmise that I own the dog, and they start yelling, like chirping, yelling, They're going, "He was in your car, mister! He was in your car!" and they keep up this chorus. And so I grab onto my dog's collar, and I'm pulling him back. And he's just like trying to go forward. He wants to just chew this guy up. And I finally pull him away, and I get him, and I put him back in my car. Put the windows up almost all the way, leave some air, right? And the I don't know. The police must have been like right around the corner. I mean, they showed up immediately, the cops, right? And so I didn't figure all this out at that moment. I pieced it all together, after the cops had talked to the guy and the kids and the lady, So anyway, what had happened was, this guy, he would hang out. He would hang out at the gas station. And his MO was he would just kind of hang out. He would wait for people to leave their cars, and if their windows were open, which mine were, right? If their windows were open, he would casually stroll up to the passenger side and open the glove box, right? He'd stick his arm in and he'd open the glove box and kind of rummage around in there. He can't see anything because he's still, pretending that he's not doing anything. He's not looking. He doesn't have his head down in the car. And he would just pull something out and put it under his jacket or his shirt or whatever, and then walk on and look at whatever he got later, right? So that was his MO. And so this is what kicked this whole thing off, right? So he does this to my car. And of course he can't see my dog Night Train, Duke Ellington song. He can't see my dog Night Train in the back seat because he's like sacked out, he's snoring. But as soon as he clicks that glove box open, that glove compartment, Night Train jumps up from the back seat and launches himself from the rear seat, and he's that this is like his property, the car, my property, which is his property, and he tries to attack the guy, and the guy, I guess, let out a little scream, and Night Train went right out the window after him. He goes right out the window. And that's what I saw from inside the office, right? That's what I saw, this guy running before he jumped up on the car. And by the way, there were a couple things in that glove box, but the most important thing that was in that glove box was a 45, a 1911 45. 1911 model. So I'm real glad he didn't get his hands on that, because this story might have a much different ending. Somebody getting shot, my dog getting shot for sure, but he didn't get to that. He didn't get to that pistol. So thank God for that. Thank goodness. So anyway, this is what happened. So the cops are talking to him, and this is how I get part of this. And then they're talking to the lady, and she doesn't have much to say except she's like terrified. She's still terrified. She's crying. This dog was jumping at her, and this guy's on her roof, and she's an elderly woman, and she's just like completely terrified. And I apologized to her, and the cops arrest this guy. Of course, they arrest him, and I went in and paid for some gasoline. Now here's the weird thing. I had scoped out. I had already gotten a place to live. I had already had an exploratory trip to Austin, but I didn't have a phone number there or anything. I didn't even know the address. I mean, I didn't have it with me, and I had to go to the property management company for that when I got there. So the cops, they took down my information. I told them the hotel that it was like a Homewood Suites kind of thing. It's got a kitchenette and stuff. So I tell them that, where I'm going to be staying for a couple of weeks until I can take possession of the apartment. I take all that information down. And I've got it all. I've got the main desk number. I've got the address. and I'm going to be there for a couple of weeks, until I can take possession of the apartment. And I also give it to the elderly woman because Night Train just tore up her car. I mean, he like tore the mirror off. He scratched he scratched the living daylights out of the a couple of the doors, the front fender where he was trying to get up on the hood. And I said, look, I'll reimburse you for this, or my insurance company will. And so that's that, right? And I settle down. They take the guy away, and they asked me if I would be available for if they need more information, testimony, whatever, affidavit. I said, yeah, I'll be in Austin. I never heard from anyone ever. I didn't hear from the cops ever. I don't know if they just like drove down the road a mile and beat the hell out of the guy and then let him. I don't know. I never heard anything. I never heard from the woman ever. I never heard from her. I never. It was just like a hiccup, a blip. I mean, it was like it just mysteriously all just sort of vaporized. I mean, I never heard from anyone ever again about it. And I just thought it was crazy, So I don't know what happened. I don't know what maybe the guy had outstanding warrants and they got him on those and just dispensed with this little incident of the gas. I don't know. I mean, there's lots of possibilities. Maybe the woman was so just so upset and so afraid. She just so traumatic. She just didn't want to. I don't know. I never heard from anyone about it again. And by the way, when I got back in the car, so my dog Night Train, he's in the back seat and he's sitting up in the back seat, and he's like, I mean, he's like worked up. He's still angry. He's still very unhappy. And I bet he growled for 20 minutes, the next 20 minutes as we got back on I-10. He just laid down on the back and growled. Like he would just growl every 20 or 30 seconds. So it certainly left an impression on him, the whole incident. So anyway, that's it. That's my funny slash weird story about getting gas in Beaumont, Texas. Today you get a bonus. This is a photo of Night Train, the dog that is the focus of this story, right? So I only have two photos of him because it was the 80s and it's not like everyone was walking around back then with a camera on them all the time like it is now. Everyone has a camera with them because they have their mobile phone with them all the time. But of course, it wasn't like that then. It was rare to get photos. Someone had to have a camera and have it available and have film in it, know what they were doing, and then you might get a good photo. So here he is. Also, I just want to add an addendum to the story that was also kind of weird and funny. Next to the car with the elderly woman in it, the Chrysler Newport with the elderly woman in it, was an old car. And it's funny, you know, the little things you remember, right? It was an old car and it had a wooden sign in a metal frame on the hood. I mean, not the hood, I'm sorry. Not the hood, on the trunk. Um, and the frame was, you know, fixed to the trunk. I mean, you know, there were metal screws, metal bolts through the top of the trunk. And the sign said, um, it, the sign said, shackled by lust, Jesus can help. So shackled by lust, question mark, Jesus can help, exclamation point. And that was the car that was next to the Chrysler Newport there in the bay where the pumps were. And after the police got the guy off the woman's roof and things had settled down a little bit, the young couple who was driving the old car, they stood next to their car and held hands and closed their eyes there in the gas station, um, you know, lot there. They held hands and closed their eyes and they prayed, not for like 5 seconds, for like a couple of minutes. Um, and you know, I was just obviously I'll never have the answer, but I was just I always wondered what they were praying for. Were they praying for the police? Were they praying for the guy that, you know, tried to steal something out of my car? Were they praying for the welfare of the absolutely hysterical, um, distraught elderly woman? Were they praying for me? I'm sure they weren't praying for Night Train. Were they praying for everyone that was there, that they would, you know, get over this? I'll never know, right? I'll never know. But it was just a weird little capper onto this onto this event. It was just a weird little denouement. You know what I'm saying? It was just kind of strange.